Good morning, good afternoon for everybody. I am Carol here from Sunset Learning Institute. I hope you all are good today and ready to join our session. I'm here with John Mirsma, our specialist today. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Well, again, I want to welcome all of you. My name is John Mirsma. I've been a Cisco instructor for Sunset Learning for quite a while. I go back to Collaboration Unified Communications Manager version 4, I think was when I first started. It was running on Windows, and then it had just shifted into Linux. And so we've had a chance to see it evolve. I want to welcome all of you to our Tech Talk, using AI for day-to-day operations for a collaboration administrator. It's basically an opportunity for me to show you how I use AI all the time. I mean, I have my AI, when I go to my computer, I have my AI window open and I find 100 uses for it every day. And so whether it's building courses, whether it's troubleshooting, whether it's configuring, for all sorts of things. And I'm sure many of you use AI as well. And so I just want to show you some of the things that I use. Hopefully, there's something new, something, oh, hey, that's maybe something you might want to use in your day-to-day. There's all kinds of uses for AI. And this is primarily a demonstration of using ChatGPT. There's many products, and people have their favorites. And I'm certainly not saying one is better than the other. It's just what I use. It's what I have a subscription to. And so I use it, and I want to give you just an insight into some of the things that I work through and what I do with it. Which basically means a whole bunch of hands-on, step-by-step demonstrations. And that's what I have planned. But before I do that, we are going to be talking SIP. And I know many of you are familiar with SIP, but it's a great opportunity to just highlight what it is, what it does, and then show you how one of the ways we can use AI to better learn SIP. Because SIP is used everywhere. I mean, it's used for your phones, it's used for your trunks, cubes, Cisco border elements, session border controllers. If you have WebEx, you're using SIP. And so SIP is, of course, made up of requests and responses. And I just want to give you a brief overview before I get in there, because I want to make sure I set the table, we're all on the same page, so that we know exactly what it is that we're dealing with. Now, we have user agent clients. These are the SIP endpoints, SIP devices that send requests. So when a SIP device wants something, it sends a request. And then, do you need me to set that up? Do you need me to set the record?
No, it's recording already. Thank you.
I was going to say, because I didn't see that. I got all kinds of buttons, and I didn't see that one, so I didn't want to go looking for it. Thank you. Okay, so one side sends a request, one side sends a response. The client is the one that sends the request. Those are all in capital letters, easy to identify. And then the server is the device that sends the response. And that's what SIP is. It's based on HTTP. And so if you're familiar with one, you're gonna have no problem with the other. HTTP is a request. You go to a web page or a website, you send a GET request. You put some information into a website, you sign into your WebEx client. That's a POST request. You're posting information. Well, all of those requests get responses, just like SIP, just like HTTPs, based on the same thing. And those responses are numerical. So one of the first things that I did, or that I like to do when going over SIP, is to write a prompt and say, hey, what are the requests? As an administrator, what are the SIP requests that I'm going to be dealing with? So what I want to do, let me get signed back in. All right. So I'm going to take this, and this is the prompt that I'm going to use. And again, I got all kinds of windows open, so. Ask it a question. Hey, what are some of the response or the requests that I should be aware of as an administrator? That way I can identify them so I know what they do. Now there's about 13 requests, maybe one or two more, I don't remember exactly. But some of them I just don't remember. I just don't see them that often. I look them up and then I just, okay, don't see it for a while, I forget. So I'm often coming back and saying, hey, what are some of these requests? What do they do? So that if I see an info request, oh yeah, that's right. If in the middle of the call, you're sending DTMF digits, you're going to see an info request or an update. Let's change something about the call before it's answered. Okay. Or an options request, which is essentially asking the other side, what can you do? It's basically used by Cisco as a keep alive. All right. So the great thing is not only can I ask it, but then I can take this. And then if we go back to our presentation, should be able to just pop that right in. And so I have a list. Not a big fan of the design. Here we go. So you can just pop it in, save it with your notes. And then you don't have to wonder again. Save it with, make some notes. Then you have your own list of requests. Now, some of them with SIP we're going to see often, but not all of them. Now, the next prompt is, okay, if those are the requests, what about the responses? Those are actually what I really look forward to when dealing with SIP. That's what I'm looking at most often, is I want to see the response. I know what the requests usually are in a phone call. I know what normal is. And a normal response would be a 200. That's a success. That's what I want to see. So if I get a different kind of response, why not? If it's not a 200, which are success, then what is it? Well, 100s are going to be, let's talk about those briefly. I want to talk a little bit about the responses. So I'm going to go ahead and copy these. And then we'll go over some of them, because I think that's part of what I like to look forward when I'm troubleshooting SIP. The type of responses that I get. Now, there's only a couple levels. 100, 200, 300, 400, etc. So just use that for now, I suppose. Now, 100s are, hey, I got your request, I'm working on it. Those are normal. They're not acknowledged. Nobody responds to a 100. But a 200 is a success. As I mentioned, that's what you want to see. Okay, that's what normal looks like. You get 200s. Now, 300s are redirections. I'm not the one you want, but here's where you should go. Think of a 300 as presented by a SIP proxy. These are the two that I'm most concerned about, because a 400 is going to tell you that there's a client error. Remember, who's the client? The one that sent the request. So if you're making a call and you see a 400 error, who's the client in this SIP transaction? That's where the problem lies. You're getting a 400, that tells me there's a client issue. Now, subsequently, a 500 tells me there's a server issue. Who's the server? The object sending the response. That's all SIP is. One side sends a request, one side sends a response. We know those are clients and servers, and we can see where a problem lies just on the category, just the category of the response. Now, if you were to go search, or we could ask chat, hey, provide a list of all the 400s. There's, I don't know off the top of my head, there's maybe There's probably more 400s than any. Maybe 50, 35. There's a lot of 400 responses. But the cool thing is they're all the same. On any device, if you get a 404 that has a specific meaning, regardless of vendor, regardless of product, you dialed the wrong number, or you're not authorized. You get a 408 message, or 426 Hemi, or a 455 if you're a Pontiac fan. You get these 400 errors, and then you can look that up. So it's very helpful. Now, these are the things that make up SIP. And this is what a normal SIP call looks like. So I'm going to, again, if we know what we're looking at, then we can get into how ChatGPT can help us with this. Somebody initiates a call, there's a SIP invite request. That's normal. That's what every SIP call starts with, an invite. The other side is going to send a 100. I got your request. I'm working on it. Now, if you don't see that, let's say you send a request and the other side does not send a 100, well, the client is going to be annoyed. It's going to send another invite and another and another. It's like a teenager. If they text you and you don't respond right away, they just keep texting and texting and texting. You'll see this in your SIP output. You'll see invite, 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 and the other side's not responding. So to prevent that, he sends a 100. I got it. It's not acknowledged. It doesn't mean anything other than I got your request. I'm going to process it. Not saying it's going to go well or bad. Could go either way, but I got it. Okay. Then the other side rings. When that happens, we're notified the other side is ringing, which tells our side, go ahead and play the ring back. All right. And then if the call is answered successfully, we'll see that. Get a 200. Success. Success. Now, this is what every SIP call should have if it's a normal, successful SIP call. We should see an invite request. You're going to see some of these. You're going to see a response, and then that response you must send an ACK request. It's in capital letters. It's a request. Every invite has to receive a final response. Remember, that's not a 100, but it's everything else. 200s are final. 3, 4, 5, 6 are all final. By the way, a 600 is a global failure, which basically means no server can fulfill it. I didn't mention what a 600 level response is, but it means no server can fulfill it. Maybe the person you're calling is set to do not disturb. But then once you get a response, the client has to send an ACK request. So this is what you want to see. If you don't see this, that's cause for investigation. Then, of course, after this transpires, you have the media, the RTP stream. The audio is turned into a codec, which is then sent point to point to the other side, and that's going to be the RTP stream. Eventually, somebody hangs up. That causes a buy request sent out by whoever initiates the hang up. This is a SIP request. It must receive a response. So it does. And if you want call statistics, you can actually look in these and you'll see call statistics. Packets lost, packets dropped, latency, jitter, delay. It's all in there. So this is what normal looks like. Now, if we were to examine any one of these requests, this is what you see. This is half of what you see. This is part of a SIP invite. And again, this is a great cause for AI because you might not remember what all these mean. Do you have to know what all these mean? No. But since there's going to be, this is half of the headers that are in a request. There's the other half. So if you take these two together, let's go ahead and do that. That's what a SIP request is made up of. And so I'm going to take these, copy them, put them in a text file. And if you want to know what any of these headers do, what they mean, why not ask? Why not ask? So That way, if you're learning, what a great way to learn what these requests are rather than having to go, because the information is, of course, out on the web, but who knows where it is, how reliable it is, and you get pretty solid answers. And we can just paste that information in and then provide a prompt. Essentially, explain this in, I like to use prompts personally. I mean, that's an art form all in itself, prompts. But when I'm trying to figure something out, I like to cut right to the chase. Explain this in simple terms or plain terms. I like to say be concise because sometimes it can be a little chatty, but that's me. And there you go, depending on what it is I'm trying to figure out. And then it will. So now you can examine your headers. If there's any one header you want to know more about, you, of course, can ask, and it will tell you. Well, this is what the p-asserted identity header is. Or, by the way, these headers, I just took both slides and copied both of them into a text file. And so this is what I submitted to chat. It was just, this is what an invite is. This object received an invite, and then it has each of the headers. That's all a SIP request is made up of, are headers. And each of these headers are present in just about every SIP call, and they have specific meanings. So if you want to know what does supported mean? Oh, well, it means you can use encrypted RTP or fallback if you're not capable. Well, that's interesting. It may not help you troubleshoot, but it makes you more knowledgeable about what you're dealing with. And then there's probably, what, 20 headers in here? And if you want to know the difference between a remote party and an asserted identity, if you're having any difficulty with, say, anonymous, trying to set up SIP privacy, understanding these headers, we have a chance if we were to go look at, since I'm here, if we were to go look at a SIP trunk, just to point that out. If we were to go look at a SIP trunk, I think I have one built. Oh. Just as an example, I'm just providing an example. Down here at the bottom, presentation information, right there. So if you want to see the remote party and or the asserted identity, and there's different types of identity, and then you get into SIP privacy. And this is a great, like right here, what does all this stuff mean? Well, that's, since I'm here, a lot of times I like to just take a snapshot and say, hey, explain this all to me. Pull that up, copy it, open up AI, and I use this a lot. The old copy, paste, snapshot something and say, explain this to me. Or if you have a specific, you can write any prompt you want. I need to set up anonymous. Explain what these mean. How do I do something? And it will. How can I configure these to set up or to allow anonymous calls in my SIP trunk? However, that's one thing I like about chat is that it doesn't get hung up on any spelling errors. It's pretty flexible. But you can take snapshots of just about anything. And instead of having to type out and explain, you can just take a snapshot of what you're doing. Why is it there? What's it important? What's going on? And then how to do something. Right? And then, so you can use it. I use it all the time, constantly about the snapshot. Oh my goodness. In fact, I'll tell you, I use that a lot. And I'm going to give you some examples because there's so many things that I'm looking at. Nowadays, we have to use more programs than ever. And you have to use a program. And you're like, how do I use this? I do a lot of video recordings, and I have Adobe. This is a little sidetrack, but I have Adobe Premiere. And if you've ever opened up Adobe Premiere, this thing is full of options. And I could do a few. And so I don't really want to recreate this, but I'll tell you something you might not realize. I used this recently. Again, not SIP related or even AI, just day to day. I opened up Adobe Premiere, I imported my video, and I was trying to do something, and I got lost. I got stuck. So I asked it for help. I took a screenshot of where I was at. I took a screenshot of me being in Adobe with the video, with the menu open. Now what? And so it was able to go, okay, I see what you're doing. Here's what you need to do. You need to click this option, and then save as. And so you can be in the middle of configuring something. Take a screenshot of that. And oftentimes, at least in my experience, it will then go, okay, based on where you're at, here's where you need to go. It's like, wow, learning Adobe, fantastic. And I was able to change my video without having to go watch half dozen YouTube videos. I was able to use chat, take a screenshot of what I was doing. So it was very handy. I thought, man, I need to figure out a way to replicate that and demonstrate it. But that is something that I have done. Okay, so we've done a little bit of this. Now, I got all kinds of stuff here. Since we're here, this is our guy. Why don't I place a few calls? Since I'm just going to use one computer, I'm going to use this as my PSTN. And it'll be fine for that purpose. Now, I'm going to make a few phone calls. Hopefully it's not too loud, so I will be very quick, but I do want to generate a little bit of traffic. So let me do that. I'm just going to, if you don't, it's actually not going to create any sound. That's good. So that I didn't really call emergency, but it's part of our lab. So I'm going to make a local call, long distance call, and just make 3 calls. That's all. All right, and then let me make a local call. Okay, now, couple things. Number one, what's built into Cisco Free? So I told you how important I think the SIP diagrams are. Let's go get some. Let me go to a different computer, and because I've already done it on this computer, and I want to do it from scratch, just so everybody can see exactly how I am doing what I'm doing. So on a different computer, I'm going to log in to Unified Communications Manager, and I'm going to download RTMT, and I'm going to take a look at those calls that I just made. We go to Application Plugins, and that, Jamal, that is an old school, that thing was so great. It was fantastic, but it's old now. With the new version 15 of CUCM, you no longer install RTMT, you download it and run it. So you download it and run it. It's on the desktop. So there's RTMT. I just downloaded this zipped file. I'm going to open it, and then I just take everything in it, make a new folder, basically just drag and drop. In fact, I probably could just do that because you got to unzip everything where you can use it. All right, now that it's unzipped, then you click run.bat, and that will connect to RTMT. So I'm going to put in the IP address of the server, and I'm just going to pull up some SIP traces. I made a few calls, and I want to see those calls in free RTMT. you likely have tools that allow you to see SIP. I'm going to show you how to do it in how I do it in Cisco using the built-in tool. But you can pull all the call traces that you've made, or you can examine calls in the last 60 minutes. So you can use real time, or you could download all your call traces and examine everything. So depending on which step you take. If you want to download everything, you go into Trace in Log Central, and you go grab your stuff. I don't want to do that. Instead, I'm going to go up here to the top, voice and video summary, and then I'm going to click real-time data under session trace log over here on the left. And then you see real-time data, which allows you to then pull up and see your calls. I made 3 calls, there they are. And so if you want, you can go back up to 60 minutes. 30 minutes is the default, but it will allow 60. Click on either one of them, generate your SIP trace right there. And so here are the SIP messages. This is what normal looks like. Now, since there are 2 phones, and both phones are part of this, both phones are using Unified Communications Manager. We see the invite come in, and then Unified Communications Manager responds, and then we see it send it to the SIP phone, who then sends the response. But we're looking at this from CUCM. So again, if you're looking at this and there's an error, which there's not, but again, you could just pop it if there's an error and you want an explanation, you can just screenshot it. Take this, stick it in AI. I mean, there's unlimited screenshots when it comes to that. And you could ask it, explain this. Why am I getting this error? Give me some examples. Explain this, whatever you need. So if there's a problem, you could put that in there and you could ask it. And it will look at the response. But that's pretty handy, is to be able to get a hold of those built in. And again, you do that using RTMT, and I clicked real-time data, pops right up. All right, so now let's use Wireshark. There's a few different ways. I'm gonna go back to my other computer, and I'm gonna open up Wireshark. Now this is a tool that I use often when I want to examine. Again, it's about getting your hands on, getting access to the SIP stuff. So you can use Wireshark, and you say, well, all right, I could capture everything. And because I'm using remote desktop, when I go to capture, let me actually choose an interface. Try that again. Yeah, that's the one I want. Now you're going to see, look at all this. Because I'm using remote desktop to connect to this computer, I'm getting 3,000 packets, maybe 1,000 packets a second. Now, it's fine. You can still do what you got to do in Wireshark. It'll capture everything. So I could make a new call. Let me make another call. Now, or you could troubleshoot logging in, whatever you need. But what I want to show you is just me. It was 26,000 packets. So that's fine, because you can use filters, of course, in Wireshark to see whatever you want. But you don't have to. You don't have to capture 26,000. So I want to show you a couple things. You're in Wireshark and you're like, all right, what filter do I use? Let's ask them. Let's ask Wireshark to provide a filter that only captures SIP requests. Like, what filter is it? There's all kinds of filters you can use in Wireshark. So when I'm working with an application and I just don't remember, I can ask it, and it'll tell you, here's some different ones. And then it does. You want to see register request? You want to see invite? Remember, every new call has an invite. So if you just want to see invite, okay. Now, since I can't copy and paste very easily, since I'm in a remote desktop, it is possible, but this. Shows me the invite. So then I can see the actual invite request. You can filter. My point is I use it all the time. If I want to examine, I open it up and look at the message header, and I can see the invite, all of the different headers that are in. I can't highlight it the way I want to, but you can see all of the SIP headers that are in. All right. Let me close that out. Now, you could also clear the filter. And then, of course, in Wireshark, just go to telephony, VoIP calls. And this is just going to show you all of the SIP calls. Now, it's catching both sides because it's catching both sides. So I could prepare a filter, and it's just going to show me SIP messages related to that call. And then I can see the actual SIP request. If you want, let's go back to VoIP calls. I think the window did populate. It's just hidden. Now down here, you could say prepare filter. Wrong thing. Let me clear this out and do it again. Now, instead of prepare filter, I said flow sequence. That's what I want. And then I know it's very tiny. I can't make it any bigger. But you can see the, and if you needed to, you could always screenshot it and then zoom in. But it does show you the call, the invite, the codecs that are part of that. It does show you, yep, I got that invite. And the other side sent a 100, a 180, and then a 200 success, and then an ACK. And this is the SDP, which is explaining them. He's offering you those codecs. And when the other side responds, they provide an SDP answer, which is telling you which codec he selected. So one side is telling you all the codecs he wants. The other side says, yeah, I'll take it. We'll use G711 MULA. But in Wireshark, which is a tool that can be used on a computer, and you might go, well, okay, that's interesting. Two things I wanted to show you about this before I move on, and that is, let's close this capture out. Let's make another capture. Nope, let's just close it out. The cool thing about Wireshark is you can just drop it, open it right back up. Is not only that, but you can do before you even start the capture. So now I want to ask chat, okay, I didn't need to catch 25,000 packets just to see a SIP call or maybe somebody logging in. I don't need 25,000. So you could ask chat, go ahead and give me for incoming. And it will tell you, if you only want to capture SIP, that way when you run your capture, it will only show you. Now you could do SIP. This is the one that I like to use right here. Port 5060. And let's see. It's actually, I think the one that I did was TCP or UDP. I think that's what I like to see. But you could do TCP port. I believe that's the one that I like to use. You could do TCP port. So you can use it for filters. That's all. Just wanted to mention that UDP 5060. And it should go. If it doesn't, that's fine. I had the same problem yesterday when I was messing with it, testing it. Didn't like the filter, then it took the filter. But it's not wanting to. Maybe it's because I'm not selecting an interface. Maybe that's what it was. Because I was like, oh, it should work. But if you play around with it, I'm telling you, it does work. It works fine. Let's do the, these are some of the inbound filters. And then that way, when you run your capture, when you run your capture, you're only capturing what you need. Well, that would be fine too, because that's what SIP uses. That's fine. And then when you make your call, assuming I selected the right interface, I didn't see if I did or not. But then when you make your call, that's all you're going to get. So very useful for inbound filters, outbound filters, writing filters. And these are all, that's all it captures. So now I have 77 packets, where the last one I had 25,000, capturing essentially the same thing. So this is much smaller, rather than having to capture everything. Use an inbound filter. And then you can look at any of these. If you want to see the media, that's going to be in the SDP, which you then can just examine down here. You can take a screenshot of any of this if you want to know what something does. If you want to know more about it. There's the session description, which is explaining the protocols that are being offered. Hey, if you want, we can do, every SIP call has one of these. And one side, in fact, that's why SIP doesn't always work. Notice two things. SIP doesn't always work through a firewall because this is contained in the SIP messages. And it has the real IP address of where the RTP audio is going to go. And going through NAT, that doesn't change. The IP address of the SIP message will change, but if you look inside and you see the actual, it's like opening up an envelope. Inside of the envelope, there's a letter. Well, that letter has the real IP address of the phone. That's where the RTP is supposed to go. This doesn't get changed by NAT. And so that's part of the reason that SIP struggles, why we need ICE or stun servers to actually change that address before the call is placed. But this is just showing you what codecs are being offered. And so that's the offer. If we were to examine this, we would be able to see what the other side accepted just by looking at that. In fact, I know you could write a filter and probably just do SDP and see just those SDPs. But we could see what the other side accepted. The other side accepted, if you look at the M line, he accepted right there, 0. So one side offered all kinds of codecs. And then if you look at the session description on the other side, you can see he accepted 0. And then 101 has to do with DTMF, digits. Which if you're curious, let me show you since I'm right here. If you're curious, if you're like, well, you mean the digits that people press? Yes, Wireshark can capture that too. If I were to answer that call and start pressing buttons, I would see those. Here's an example of just that. It's a different Wireshark, but if you do that, oh, right here, I have a pre-existing filter. Show me the DTMF. And then this is an example right here of a Wireshark capture of a call. Yes, it is. And it not only does it show you out of band, but it's showing you, Wireshark is showing you, oh, okay, so this call was a out of band method where I'm sending, instead of sending a SIP notify, when you press a digit during the call, you can send a SIP notify, that's in band, or you could send a SIP, basically a subscribe notify, or you can send it outside of SIP as a telephony event. And that's what you're looking at. You're looking at a filter. Hey, show me the telephony events. Oh, you mean the digits? These RTP digits that were pressed. Yeah. Well, this guy pressed 8. And notice there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 6 packets, 7. So I pressed 8. And 7 packets were sent, 7 RTP packets, so that they guarantee the other side gets them. The longer you hold on to the button, the more packets get sent. So he sends 7 packets that say 8, and they're all 101. 7 packets that say 6, 8675309. So all you're looking at is me making a phone call, pressing 8675309, and having a Wireshark trace. And then opening up Wireshark and filtering, hey, show me the DTMF digits, and you can see the numbers, which is a good advertisement for encryption. You should use encryption in your network because anybody can see not only what you type, but they can also go into telephony and Wireshark voice calls, and they can play what you said. Down here, play streams, it can pop up, and if you actually spoke, it will play that and you can hear it. So Wireshark captures everything. And you can use it not only on a computer, but you can use it inside of your router. If you didn't know that, one of the things we do in our SIP class is run a Wireshark filter on a router. Now, the last thing that I could just keep going and going and going, but here's something else. I'm going to show you 2 things that I use, and then I'll send you on your way and say thank you. But 2 very important things that I use, and that is scripting. Okay, number 1, I use Linux, and I don't know anything about Ubuntu commands. And I have tried to take lists of commands and go to websites, and I have done some Ansible stuff where you download code and you have to run it in Linux. And it has taken me many days to try to get a few commands, because I don't know, like, what's the next command? What do I do now? Now I don't want to show you that. I'm going to show you 2 things that I use that you might want to incorporate. And then that's all the time I have. So number 1, I think I have an open session to, let's go to this right here. So here is our vCenter. And in this is all of our servers. So like, for instance, if you take a class at Sunset, I've got a rack 1 that has about 60 Cisco servers. A whole bunch of publishers and subscribers, and they're all version 15, latest and greatest. So everybody gets their own pod. Everybody gets your own gear for a while. Well, this is a class that I had a few weeks ago, and I went to Cisco Live last week, and I just said, hey guys, we're not using it, keep it. So they've been using this equipment for about 3 weeks. Well, now it's time to shut it down. I don't want to manually go in, this is how I used to do it, and power down each one. Yes, it is the same. This question about Teams, it is the same, but Teams uses SIP slightly different. I mean, they have their own flavor of SIP, but it is still SIP, and you have to have a compatibility device between Cisco or anybody working with Microsoft SIP. You got to have a device that can convert, because Microsoft does SIP a little differently. But yes, it's still SIP. It's just they have some of their own different types of requests, response, or information inside, and there needs to be a converter, which is why when you're always setting up Microsoft, there's always that extra step. But I want to shut these off. So here I am in the past. I used to go in, turn these off, and get them ready for the next class. So I'd have to turn it off, take a snapshot, or go back to the last snapshot. The problem is I have about, 50 of these. So what I do is I made a list of all these names. I took a screenshot and I said, okay, I basically did this because I didn't want to do it by hand. And I said to another really useful thing here is I say, transcribe this. Transcribe. And it will. And then I took all those names and I have them somewhere, I think. Maybe I don't anymore. No, but that's okay. I have them elsewhere. So I'm going to show you what I do real quick. See, now I have all the names, and then I just copy them. And let me show you this. Really, this has been a huge time saver that I use. So I need to go back and get my, oh no, I know where they're at. I was prepared. Okay, so I have all the names written down that I just showed you. And I do this. So these are all the names. and I put a prompt into chat that says, okay, I need you, so provide a PowerShell script. This is the prompt that I use. Provide a PowerShell script. It will allow, I have to do untrusted server connection because of the certificate, but don't give me an explanation, just give me the commands. And all I ever do is change whether I want to power these on, I change it to on or off, or revert these to snapshot. And so I want to power all these off. And so these are all of the servers that are currently running. And so I just take this, and every time I got to do this to get ready for class, I just pop it in, or you can even save them. But it'll give you the commands, the script. Then I open up PowerShell as an administrator. And you can even ask chat for the command to do that. Hey, chat, what is the command to get into your server? And it will show you how to do that. So I'm logged into my server in PowerShell. And then I can take this and just copy it as is. Sometimes you got to do it a few times, because these PowerShells do not like any, your clicks got to be, let's do this. I'm going to just copy that code. There it goes. And it will go ahead and do that. So then it turns them all off. And then if I need to snapshot them, I just pop that in and say I need to snapshot them. And then it will it'll do that. But it's going to go ahead and see how it's turning off these student PCs. They're all, so it'll turn them all off. And so you can use that to come up with code for anything, turning them on, turning them off, snapshotting them, moving them. I had to clone them before. I used to have to go through the cloning process. And then I was like, no, why don't you give me the PowerShell commands to clone 10 of them? And it did. So I didn't have to clone all of these PCs. I just used AI for the PowerShell command to do that. So that's one thing. Now, the other thing I want to show you that, that I like to use is this. There's a video. It's the last thing I want to show you, and I'll send you on your way. Something I like to do. Sometimes you do watch a YouTube video, and you're like, oh, hey, that's a really interesting YouTube video. Okay. And so let's go look at one. This is on the phone, that side. All right. So there's a YouTube video that I made about configuring a cube from scratch. So it walks through the whole process of configuring a cube and then all the commands. So one thing you can do is, you can, of course, take a screenshot of anything that you see on here and say, transcribe these commands, and it will. You know, you can just say, transcribe the commands. Let me give it that task while I work on the other task that I want to show you. And that is right here. Just say, transcribe. Or, wrong thing. And it will, boom. Now, the other thing that I like to do, so now I have those commands. If I see something I really like, now I can just copy them, paste them into my own. But then also, if you, let's go back to, I'll trust it, it's doing its job. And let's go to that YouTube video. And then down here at the bottom, under not comments, not those, transcribe or transcript. Come on, I always have to find it, but it's there. There's a way to, you can view the, there. Sunset. Oh, there it is, transcript. So it always takes me a while to find the transcript, but you can find the transcript of any YouTube video. It's in there. You just got to go find that button. Then I copy, if I need to, the transcript. And then, since it's my video, I'll use that as a demo. I like to do it to my video. And then I have this along with the prompt that says basically summarize this for Cisco admins. Summarize this for Cisco admins. Focus on tasks, commands, and concepts relative, whatever prompt you want. But I like to sometimes get the transcript of my YouTube videos and then pop that in, and it will then turn that into something like, just give me the highlights, the cliff notes, and it can do that. And so that can be very helpful and useful. There's a lot of things. The other thing I'm going to send you on your way here, I have a Open PowerShell, I believe. Yep. So here I am. While it's doing that, I'm in Ubuntu. And some of these were already powered off, so it's telling me that. But it powered off all the ones I needed to. Excellent. Work's done. So here I am in Ubuntu. And I use this to run Ansible scripts. So yesterday I had all kinds of problems. Let me just show you an example. So now here I am in Ubuntu, and I need to, let me go download I'll just run a few commands, and I'll find one error. And then as soon as I do, yeah, that video, I can provide that. Let me copy, paste. Wants to know the credentials. Oh, it's not going to work. That video is a portion of what we do in the SIP class. It was it's just a portion where we go through configuring a cube from scratch, and we go over all the commands. So suppose you're in Ubuntu like I am. And okay, I just cloned something, and then I want to go change it. So I just downloaded the files from GitHub, and I'm putting in some commands. And then let's say that I want to try to do something. Like I want to try to install a Python, and it will give me an error. Okay, so this one is pretty interesting. It tells me what to do. But let's say I didn't see that. Because sometimes you're like, what? So I just copy what I'm doing. Whatever error comes up, no matter how ugly it looks. The PowerShell was Windows. All PowerShell was Windows. What you're seeing now is me using PowerShell to connect to an Ubuntu Amazon server. I am SSH'd into an Amazon. So right now I'm using PowerShell as a telnet or an SSH client, and I'm connected to a Linux computer. The PowerShell I used, let me explain that. The PowerShell was just Windows, and I can connect to my server using PowerShell and then run the PowerShell commands to turn off my VMs. I also use PowerShell to SSH into Linux servers. So that's what I'm doing now. And I have an error, and I don't know the Linux command to go forward. So what I do is I copy whatever I'm doing, and I'm just about done, and I say, hey, what is this? And if we go back to AI, as you have already seen me do many times, I can paste it in, and I can say, look, I don't know anything about what I'm doing with the Linux. What command do I need to go forward with? Like, what do I need to do? And it will walk you through. And if that command doesn't work, you put the error in and put it back, and it'll go, oh, well, okay, I forgot to tell you what other command you should have used. And it will then, see, it will do this every time. Yesterday, I ran into a dozen errors. And I mean, there's no way I could have finished it. But because of this, I use it often when I'm trying to script something and I get errors, whether it's trying to run Ansible or whatever else. You can use it, and it will then, there. And then it will walk through that. And then if you get stuck, you run a command and you get stuck. Copy it, screenshot it, put it in. What do I do now? And then if you get it, it's fantastic. So as you can imagine, those are very helpful, very useful. So I want to wrap this up and just basically provide you with the discount code. I want to say, number one, thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us your attention. We greatly appreciate it. And this is the kind of stuff that we work through, spend time on. We're in class. We have a SIP class, 5 days of this kind of stuff. You ask questions, we demonstrate, you have gear, hands-on, all of that. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would love to have you, and we could spend as much time as we need on all of these topics. So I want to thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you
I hope
all.
to see you soon.
Thank you, John. Hope to see you all in our next class. These are the guaranteed to run dates. You can use these code to get 25% off. As John said, I left here the link to our sessions and our guaranteed to run schedule. Thank you all and have an amazing week.
If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.